Cool. So we got there eventually. We have we're using some new Audible software. You guys don't care. Basically, we got it up and running. All the cameras are running. Sweet. We are here. Cool. So welcome to Jess Brady here. Thanks for joining us on the podcast. As you know, our podcast is all about helping entrepreneurs or people that aspire to be entrepreneurs try and leave that 9 to 5 and create some sort of freedom for themselves, whether that be health, wealth, fitness. And you have some really, really cool stories to tell as well in terms of, there's a lot I read about you just before we started, and there's a lot you've got in terms of mindset. I know the journey hasn't been a straight line for you as well.
Never is it?
So, no, never is. So we're going to unpack that as well, because I'm sure there are tons of value bombs. And all the way up to what you're doing now. So is it I don't know what a Barry is, by the way. So I'm sure it's pretty solid. So, I mean, maybe we should start with that. So where are you now?
Okay.
And yeah, let's backtrack on how you got there. So, I mean, Barry seems like a pretty stringent process, and it looks like a selection process that's quite quite hard to get into.
Do you know what? I love telling the story of Barry's, because starting off, Barry's means so much to me, because at the time when I got picked to go for Barry's, I was in that really bad place that I was talking to you about. So we'll backtrack to that. So Barry's is like a fitness concept. I've got them all over the world. It started in LA, I believe, in America. And then in 2013, it came over to the UK, came to London. They opened loads of branches in London, and then they opened the Manchester studio, then the Liverpool studio. So I was just doing my own thing, focus on me health and fitness after I'd had a bit of a stagnant period. And went to this fitness industry night at Barry's in the studio in Liverpool, and we had no idea that they were looking for new trainers or anything like that. I just like going to Barry's because it's a boss workout and it's so much fun, and they play good tunes in there, so what can go wrong? So I went with my friend, one of my best friends, Victoria. We went, and we got invited. Didn't think anything of it, just like a fitness industry night. The room was full. They had master trainers up from London there as well. They had Anya, who's head of training. She runs it. She was there. So it was a pretty big deal. So I was like, I feel really important here. I feel quite special. I've been invited to this fitness industry night. And at the time, my Instagram wasn't doing massively well. I wasn't really posting much. It was just stagnant. That's the only word I can basically describe it as. So I was like, don't know why I've been invited, but we'll go with it. We'll go and have some fun. Yeah. So I did the workout, and at the time, because I got my fitness back, I was really, really fit. So absolutely smashed it in there. I was doing boss runs, lifting heavy weights. And then after we found out, it was actually a secret audition to be the next Liverpool trainers. So I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. I remember Victoria saying to me, she was like, you are going to get a message. You're going to get picked. You were born to do Barry's. You need to go for it. But I hadn't even been asked. I just laughed her off. I was like, yeah, whatever. But then later that night, same night, I think it was Gemma, the master trainer who come up to Liverpool, messaged me and asked me if I'd be interested. And at the time, it was in June, I remember it, because June was my yes month. I gave myself a yes month because I've been through a really bad time and I wanted to change my life. I wanted to turn things around.
So what do you mean by yes month? Is that where you just say yes to any opportunity that comes up?
Yeah. Okay, yeah. So I was going through a bit of a bad time. We'll talk about it in a bit.
For sure.
Any opportunity that came my way, I wanted to force myself to go for it and say yes, which in previous times I would never say yes to things that scared me. So I was like, June is my yes month. So I've got to give a go, to the point where I remember I was in London. This is just a funny side note. And I was getting my nails done with my other friend Vic in London. And she was like, you need to download Hinge just for a day, give it a go. And I hate anything like that. I'm not big a fan of dating, and never been on dating apps. And because it was June, I had to say yes. I only lasted about 45 minutes on it and got rid of it. But so I had to say yes to that. We were in this nail shop and she just set up Hinge for me. It was ridiculous. But anyway, going back to Barry's, Gemma messaged me and I was like, I've got to say yes. So I messaged my best mate Victoria and I was just like, right, they've messaged me, I'm going to say yes. So straight away they said, right, we need to come in, you need you to come in for a mic test. And I was like, I have no idea what that is, but okay, sounds great.
That's with the headset and the
that's full on right? Britney Spears for a little 3 minutes. I was like, my time to shine has come.
Yeah. So what's a mic test then? Is this where so is Barry's where you're coaching people live, and is that so you get a headset on and then so they give you a mic test to make sure you're clear and you're good enough in terms of tonality and stuff, is it?
Yeah, so you don't basically sound like a shrieking banshee down the microphone. You basically look like it's a proper Britney Spears mic.
Just imagine on
your thing
doing an intensive workout with a mic on and not sounding like a dying dog. basically.
It's hard. I'm not doing the workout, by the way. I am just the conductor, so to speak. So it's like treads and floor. You go on the treads, you go on the floor, then you're back on the treads, back on the floor. That's like the original concept. But people like to do like different rounds and things like that. But it's hard work. You do like incline runs, sprints, endurance. And on the floor, each day is something different in Barry. So say like Wednesday's a chest, back and abs day. Friday today is total body. So it'll be like head to toe, bicep curls, press, legs, the whole shebang. So luckily I have a very good friend who is a Barry's trainer, Joe, and I've known him since I was like 14 years old. So straight away on the phone to him, I was like, what on God's green earth is a mic test? What do I have to do? And he was buzzing because he was like, I knew you'd get it. We were talking in the trainer's chat, like saying, you know, you were one of the first names that got brought up. I was like, oh, that's nice. I feel very important. I was like, enough of that. I was like, what's a mic test? What do I have to do? So it's basically like a mini class for 3 minutes that I had to do. Plan it myself, put the music to it and things like that. And they had other people in the room that I basically had to do like a little practice of a Barry's class. Bear in mind, I've done PTing before. I'm an online fitness coach. I've done loads of public speaking, but the one thing I've never done is taught a class with a microphone on. So do you know what helped me the most, weirdly enough, was the public speaking. Knowing that I've stood in front of hundreds of people, done the public speaking, I was like, if I can do that, I can put a microphone on, do a little mic test.
For sure.
But I got Joe to check everything for me, and I went and I done it, and I was going last, which is just typical. So I seen these other girls, and there was a guy who was actually in my mic test, Steve, who's one of my best friends now. He's actually a Barry's trainer now, so we were in training together. So he was actually in my mic test. They all went first, smashed it, and I was thinking, oh my God, I'm so out my depth here. I'm just gonna go on there and just be myself, show my weird, quirky personality. I call it crackhead energy. I was like, just give it that.
Crackhead energy. I love that. I think I got that. I got crackhead energy.
Some people might call it ADHD, but
Yeah, he's got that as well.
That is crackhead energy.
it really is. Yeah. Always got to be doing something. But like, that's just me. Like, have a laugh, have a joke, give it a go. So I did it. And you know what? I loved every single second of it. It was amazing. I literally just came alive on the microphone, did it really well. And then literally a couple of days later, Anya, who's head of training, rang me and just said, we think you've got so much potential. We'd love to get you down for 2 weeks of training down in London. You know, we'll sort your train out. We'll put you up in a house. We really want you to be a Liverpool Barry's trainer. And it was still June at this point, so I was like, fuck.
Yeah,
got to
still got to say it.
But I was over the moon, and as we work backwards to what we're going to talk about today, you'll understand why it meant so much to me.
Yeah, I think that's going to be a super important thing. Just to touch on your authenticity and being yourself. I can't remember, I'm going to butcher this statement by Naval Ravikant that talks about being the most competitive is to be yourself. No one can compete against your authenticity.
Yeah.
And so like sometimes, especially if you're nervous to get into stuff, you just go in as yourself and no one can really compete against yourself. And so going in as yourself, they'll see you for who you are, and that makes you unique and different, which is really, really cool.
Yeah.
So I like that, and I love that. I try my best to be as authentic as possible without swearing too much, which is what I do. But yeah, try and be myself as much as possible because no one can do you better, really. But yeah, so coming up to it, let's dig into that actually. So it's all good to know all sort of the bells and whistles of what's coming out the other side. So I've read a little bit about your story. You've got a really inspirational story in the fact that so you're online fitness coaching. So you've helped a lot of women, but not just with fitness, but it seems mental health as well. Correct me if I'm, again, butchering this stuff. With mental health as well. You've even helped someone through IVF as well. So it looks like you've, it's no small feat, and you've made some really cool moves in that space. So I'd like to maybe dial that back and kind of what got you towards making that sort of impact as well. So, God, I mean, where do you start with that? So what were you doing before then? Before you were an online fitness coach?
I was just a sport and exercise psychologist.
Did not mention 3 degrees here. 3 degrees. Yeah, absolutely greedy. So what are the degrees in? Sorry, psychology?
I've got an undergraduate degree in psychology. I've got a master's degree in sport and exercise psychology, and I'm a chartered sport and exercise psychologist for the British Psychological Society. And I had to do.
We knew we would get it in.
It was going to come in at one point.
Yeah.
And I had to do like a doctoral, like an equivalent to a doctoral level degree for that, where I was like in training, still had to do like all my case studies and things like that. And it was meant to be 2 years, but it was over COVID, so I think it ended up being about 3 years.
Okay.
So lots
because
of
this
years
is where
of
your
education.
like entrepreneurial side started, right? Because I know you worked like at Gillingham and stuff. That's how we met.
Yeah.
But that was your first business, right?
Yeah.
Do you still run that business?
Yeah. Still do. Still work with 2 athletics clubs from Kent that were my very, very first like places to work, where I started working for free. Just to get experience. And then I'm still with them both now, still working with athletes that I was working with 6 years ago.
So I'm not clued up on this. So what were you doing before I mentioned your degree? So what were you doing? And then did you just straight away transition into that from uni, or like?
So I'll start at the beginning. I'll start at the very beginning. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. So in school, I always knew I wanted to help people.
Cool.
Loved psychology, but it was my psychology teacher in sixth form that really made me feel like this was for me.
Love that. Helping
people. Miss Ladbroke, she was amazing. Shout out Miss Ladbroke if you're watching this. And I loved psychology, and at that point, that's the only thing that mattered to me. I wasn't looking at like potential careers. In my head, I had ideas like forensic psychology, all those different like interesting things that psychology can lead to. Had all those in my head, but I was like, I love psychology. It's a big part of my life. It's important to me. That's what I want to do at uni. And I've gone back to my school. I went to Merchant Taylors in Liverpool, the girls' school. And I've been back doing so many careers talks back at my school, helping the students out. And the one thing I always say to them is, if you're not sure what you're going to do for university and you want to go, please choose something that you love and you're going to stick to, because that means you're going to enjoy it. And if you enjoy something, it's the same in sport, isn't it? You tend to perform better, and you always perform better when you're having fun with things. So that's kind of what drove me with psychology.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think we're in a good time where you can pick things that you love and then become hyper specialist at that. I mean, we're not back in World War, or even back in my parents' time, where it was the done thing to kind of just stick a job. Sometimes the jobs that you don't really like. So that's absolutely the advice that I'd give people as well. Is because there are going to be times where it gets tough, and you're going to have to stick that out when it gets tough. And would you rather be doing something that you're passionate about and love to that level? Because that's going to help you get through it, or do something you don't like, and then you're more likely to give up unless it's just discipline. You'll be miserable. I totally second that. I think you should go for what you're passionate about and then get insanely good at it and then monetize it. Because of course, I mean, like, wealth and abundance as well. Why not?
Absolutely.
You was probably ahead of your time as well in terms of like the online space as well. Could you say like 6 years ago, like most people weren't working remotely 6 years ago?
Well, I wasn't working remotely 6 years ago. So I started working remotely when COVID struck.
Okay.
And that was when obviously everyone's mental health went really down the pot, because it was like cabin fever, isn't it? You weren't allowed out. You couldn't see your loved ones. I was one of those people, by the way. I was in Kent. Because I'm a Scouser. I'm very, very close to my family, especially my mum and dad. Like they're my rocks, especially my dad. And I wasn't allowed to go home and see them. And I would go home every other week to see my family, and I wasn't able to see them for months and months and months. And
imagine having that ripped out.
It was awful, because that was like my lifeline. And at that time, I was in a relationship that I wasn't particularly happy with. Even though he was a good guy, I just wasn't happy with that relationship, and I just needed to get out. So eventually I did move back up to Liverpool for a period of time before I came back down to Kent. But people still wanted psychology sessions. People still wanted, because I wasn't an online fitness coach at this point. I was just doing sport and exercise psychology. But people still wanted the support, especially now that they were at home. They had to do their own training. A lot of pressure, especially my top performing athletes, like the players and things like that. They wanted access to someone, even just someone to talk to. So it was actually my busiest time. I got 10 times busier during COVID, which was a blessing, because I know so many people were on the thingy where the
Clubhouse, was it?
What was the term that the government used? Furlough.
Furlough.
Oh, furlough.
Right.
That's one.
I thought you meant like online, because you had that Clubhouse thing that went
Everybody's
crazy,
on Clubhouse waiting for opportunities to come in. You're like, I'm so lonely.
You just got Jess there, like, you need some mental health?
anyone to talk to?
People are on furlough.
Yeah. So
I mean, that's quite a cool thing that, like, I mean, it was a blessing, because especially when it comes to mental health, that kind of lent itself. I mean, my business was the same, e-commerce. You thought everything was going to run flat because people weren't going to buy, and then obviously everybody just started shopping online. So, I mean, a certain element of it is skill, for sure. I'm such a big proponent in getting skill sets that make you a weapon, but also it's also going to be that luck as well. But I think it's your ability to capitalise on that luck, not just that luck happening, because a lot of people will probably see a similar opportunity and not run at it. And I think you had a skill set backing you up, and probably some other elements about you that allowed you to be like, oh, well, actually, I'll do a bit more of this and pull that on board as well.
Yeah.
So they started asking for more and more of this stuff. So what happened after that then?
So just was really, really busy with that. Started taking on more private clients as well, which was brilliant. And I was just really busy. But then at that time, moved back up to Liverpool, split with my boyfriend at the time, and then moved back down to Kent when I was ready. Moved back to Ashford in a place called Finbury, got a gorgeous flat there and just settled there. And just kept on working online at home. It was still it was those weird zones, wasn't it? It went into I think in Kent you were allowed out, but in Liverpool you weren't allowed out. Like it was just because they did it by zones. It was just so weird talking about that now, isn't it? It was like a lifetime ago.
Yeah, it seems so, doesn't it?
Yeah, like the word furlough. I've not used that word since.
Yeah, what's that word?
Queuing to get into Asda. And it's like,
Honestly, rice and pasta and toilet roll, gone.
Yeah,
People were
100%.
feral.
Yeah.
Everyone's
And then everybody
turning on
panicked.
each other for the toilet roll, like selling people out online.
such a mad time.
Surprised you didn't get through the rations, was it?
Oh, good times, good times.
But yeah, so people. Can I ask you quickly about charging? So like when I started growing my business, behind a desk when I'm marketing, I can pick my price point and I can do some pricing research and then I can come up with the pricing and I can sit behind a desk and be like, that's how much it is. You go and buy. When you're positioning services, it took me a while to be able to value my time enough to charge people. Did you find that, or did you? Like, how did you find that? Like, did you go by the going rate? Were you afraid to ask for that kind of money initially, or did you take less money until you got popular? Like, how did that work?
So a few things. So I've got to say, my dad really helped me with that. So my dad's a businessman. Like, out of all the people I've met in my life, like he is the businessman. I keep saying to him, like, you need to write a book, Dad. He owns like timber and building merchant companies in Liverpool. So he's like got the business brain. So he really helped me out, and he was the one who told me work for free at the beginning, get your name out there, get the experience, not just necessarily to get my name out, but for me to get more confident with what I'm doing. And then when I reach that point of confidence, I can be like, right, okay. And then he sat me down. He was just like, how are you feeling confidence wise? He was like, right, now ask them, speak to them and say, you've done all this work. Obviously, you're making a big impact with the people that you're working with. Now say, like, I've worked for free. Like, would you, like, pay for my services?
Yeah.
And everyone said, yeah. Everyone said yeah, because I'd put in the time, getting to know everyone. And, oh, my God, it was graft. It was hard work, working for free. I think I worked for free for just, maybe about 8 to 10 months.
Wow.
Yeah.
It was hard. It was really hard. But at the time, I was still I was in that doctoral level, like, qualification to be a chartered psychologist. So I was still technically, I was still classing myself as a student, even though I didn't feel like a student, felt very much like an adult. But so I was doing the experience, and then it paid off. And I wouldn't have known how to do that, obviously, if it wasn't for my dad. I'm in a very lucky position that I had my dad to hold my hand through it. But it worked. And then I just continued going from strength to strength and still putting in the work, still putting in the same work. And you know, it does pay off.
So
Yeah, I mean,
Nick, sorry, you spoke about like opportunities earlier. Like a lot of people wouldn't have seen the opportunity. Do you think the fact that you was brought up in a house where your dad is a businessman and he's always looking for opportunities, do you think that helped in you actually seeing COVID as an opportunity to go online?
With his help, yeah, definitely. COVID was very, very forced. Of like, you know, you can't see people face to face, because all my sessions were face to face. But then when we did go online, I seen the benefit, especially when it comes to mental health and for people to open up and comfortable. I really noticed that people were opening up more when they were in the comfort of their own home. They were like wrapped in like their favourite jumper, they were on their couch, or they were on their
so psychologically they'd be in comfort with.
They were in their comfort bubble whilst also talking to me. And I just felt like the conversations that I had just went from like here to here, because they were comfortable talking, because it was a screen, it wasn't me on the other side. And the difference there was just astronomical. It really was, because sometimes I've had some sessions with clients sat opposite them, whether it's been in a clinic room, whether it's been at Christchurch University in Canterbury, whether it was the pitch side, Jill's, or track side. Like sometimes it was just one word answers, and they'd be like looking around or like looking at people going past them, like trying to be a bit quieter and things like that. But then boom, as soon as it was on a laptop, completely different.
Interesting. Yeah, 100%. I think people are like that naturally as humans. And that's why I'm also a big believer in the frame that you bring to the party. Definitely makes a difference. So like if you bring a friendly, loving, caring frame as well, like you'll invite people to do that. as well. So obviously not everybody can be in their pajamas on their sofa 24/7, but I think there's some psychological thing there. And I think you can also do that. So if I bring a kind, loving friend to the party and invite you that it's okay by being that example, then I think you can pull that sort of stuff out of people in their general life. People still have fear, and there's social capital and risk and stuff like that as well. But I think you're more likely to. Just coming back onto, just because I'm thinking about viewers and the value, you mentioned about obviously growing up in a household where your dad was a business owner. So, I mean, firstly, that's why we do podcasts like this, because we want to give that information out so that people can just go and run with that. Because sometimes people do grow up in situations where there are benefits. I mean, like I'm a white guy in England. Do you know what I mean? So even if our family didn't have like loads of money, but I mean, we live in paradise. I mean, look at England. We get taxed too much, but the place is really enabling. I could start a business for no money and make something of myself by studying YouTube. So I am fortunate as well, but some people won't have that environment. I didn't have a business environment growing up, and so that made the journey a little bit harder. Probably older than you, I don't know. But that's why we're doing this here, so that, you know, people can have this information. So there's a couple of golden nuggets I just want to summarize on there. Like, doing work for free first is important for a number of reasons. Firstly, you don't have a portfolio anyway, and so that gives you a nice quick-fire way to build a portfolio. So doing work for free, and also when someone charges money, there's an expectation. So you can kind of screw up a little bit when you do your first stuff, and then you can kind of cut your teeth on it. And so, I mean, a lot of people don't want to give away free work because it's resource intensive. But at least at the beginning, you want to develop your skill set and put yourself out there, and your connections you build as well is so important off the back of that. It's just such a good idea to do that stuff for free. And it seems like you're just giving and not getting anything back. But then one day that'll just drop 8-10 months down the line, for example. So although some households are more enabling, I'm sure you've had some tough parts of that as well, because you're human. But that's why I want to distill that info over. So that is some really valuable information. I'd definitely start with free work so that you can develop your skill set. Super important. And then, you know, YouTube University is free, so you can study anything you want. Not 3 degrees in psychology, but there's loads of cool psychological challenges. You just got to separate, you know, the gurus from the real people. So yeah, I just wanted to touch back on that, because I always think about what the viewer's going to get from this and to get into a better place. And I thought that was really, really valuable, and I don't want someone to be put off by being like, oh, you know, well, you had a business dad. I was like, yeah, but she also worked, and there are principles that you can follow as well. So after that waffle, straight back into how you grew off the back of that then. So you did it for free initially, and then you said about, okay, well, what if I charge? And then what happened from there? It was kind of just like going rate stuff. Did your dad kind of guide you and be like, oh, you know, well, look at what other people are charging and just kind of put that in or something? Yeah,
pretty much. So obviously started off a little bit on the low side, just to kind of, it's a good building block.
Which isn't a bad thing either.
No, it was a good building block. And again, like, my dad would always relay it back to my confidence, because I never used to be a confident girl. I used to really struggle with confidence.
Wow. I did, but the thing
is, that was a prerequisite of just being Scouse. You're just born with confidence. But
again, I did spend 9-10 years of my life down south, so maybe that. Oh, yeah. I take that back.
Taking it down.
But then again, this is something that people throw up as an objection. It's just like, oh, you know, well, you were confident. So like, where did that come from? So like, because you appear like, you know, you're in front of us and you're smiling and you're confident, you come across well, which we'll all mask up to a certain extent. But like, where did that come from? Like, where did that change?
It's really hard to kind of like pinpoint where my confidence came from.
Yeah, of course, for sure.
This year, I'd probably say in the past, since April, May time, my confidence has just gone through the roof.
Cool.
And, you know, I can proudly say that I deserve to be the confident person sitting here after the way I was feeling this year. But I think over time, I think one of the biggest things that boosted my confidence was going to university, because with being such a family girl, I was so close to my family. You know, I always had them to lean on and rely on and things like that. As soon as like you chucked off, like not even necessarily just down the road, I went from Liverpool to London. It was a big change for me, and it was kind of like forced, almost like I was saying with COVID, like online forced. No other choice. You got to take it. You got to do it. You just got to get up and get on with it.
Sure.
So it was kind of like that with my confidence down south, and then just over time it grew. But I'd definitely say the biggest thing that's helped me with my confidence is probably the shitty, fucking awful times.
Do you think your confidence is built on your actions as well? You're very big into fitness, and like it's been a passion for many years since I've known you anyway. And surely that helps with confidence as a byproduct.
Massively. Like whenever, like I talk to people about mental health, I talk to people about psychology, all those different things, no matter like what walk of life you are. But the one thing I always say is just move your body.
Yeah.
And I always say, and I've said it for years, the gym is the one thing that has never let me down in life. Is the one thing that has always been there for me.
Hi guys, sorry, just a quick interruption. It's Nick from Unchained Entrepreneur. So we recorded the entire podcast only to find out that some of the cameras did not work. We had some memory card issues, but we did manage to get the audio. This podcast, I believe, is really, really valuable. Jess drops some value bombs and she goes through the emotional sides and some of the dark sides of getting to where she's going as well and how she came out the other side. So I really do encourage you to listen on. We don't have all the visuals. We'll try and keep the wide shot on for as long as we can, but then it's going to go to audio. But I'm sure you'll enjoy the podcast anyway. It's a great listen. So listen to the end, take in all that information because it will really help you guys to level up and get yourselves to a better place as well. So again, apologies for the interruption. Enjoy the listen.
Whether I've been depressed, anxious, sad, happy, nervous, any of those different things, the gym has never let me down. It's always been there for me. And I've always leaned on it. I think when I left Liverpool to go to London, that is the one thing I took up straight away. I was like, I've got the gym. Like, if I'm having a bad day, gym. Tough lecture, gym. Shitty day, gym. Had the best weekend of my life, brilliant, gym. Like, it's never let me down. It's been my constant in life.
Yeah, it opened up new doors for you too, right?
Yeah, big doors, yeah.
That's got you. Yeah, like gym is super important, and I think diet as well. And although it can take a little bit of discipline in a world where everybody's trying to shove sugar down your throat, like there's evidence that you do secrete endorphins and dopamine and all that kind of lovely, cool stuff that's actually going to make you feel better. So physically, you feel better, and you know, whether you're spiritual or just scientific, or I'm probably a little bit of both, but like they have physical differences, and your brain is made up a large part of physical things that happen. And so I think that's so important. I don't think people give enough weight because it's hard. I mean, like motivating yourself sometimes to go to the gym can be pretty difficult.
Yeah,
like,
definitely.
I was working out this morning at home and I didn't fancy it.
But that's the thing with the gym, though. Like, you don't have to love it for you to get the benefits from it. You're going to get the benefits from it regardless. You don't have to love it or enjoy it when you're there. You just have to know that when you leave that gym, you're going to feel a little bit better.
It almost just needs to become a non-negotiable. Like whether people act so much on how they feel rather than acting regardless of how they feel. So if it's just a non-negotiable and like it's just a prerequisite of your personality that you have to go and do this thing, same as we eat. You don't think about it, we just do it.
Yeah, and like, seeing long-term gain as well. And I would say that you can, like you said, like if you focus on something you're passionate about with work, you can try and do that with the gym. So, for example, I love boxing. I enjoy exercising and boxing. Don't like getting hit, of course, but that does make me want to do it more. And there's something regarding weights. I'm not a runner, but I would go and lift some weights because you're a big man. Do you know what I mean? Like I'll lift some weights and be like, oh yeah, go on. And so there's something behind that. I enjoy the benefits of having a body that's nice as well, like or aspiring to that. And so you can tie in little things that you like and build that into a workout routine. But sometimes you just got to get on with it.
Yeah.
You get up in the morning, you don't fancy it and be like, well, who do I want to be at the end of the day? Like, am I in alignment with the person that I say or I say I want to be or think I'm going to be? And if not, be in alignment with who you want to be. It's like as simple as that. It's just like that kind of guy goes to the gym. So go and do that thing. Yeah, for sure.
So just on the gym then. So you don't have a degree in the gym, but by going to the gym opened up a door to work really closely with your friend in her online business.
Yes, definitely.
Now let's just revert back to like online. You can now program for her anywhere in the world.
Anywhere, anywhere.
And you get paid for doing so. So just talk a little bit more about like that and how that works.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah,
it is. Do you know what? Like, location freedom is just amazing.
No. Yes, absolutely. Yeah,
it's amazing.
For sure.
I absolutely love it. Like I can just go and work anywhere. I feel like, and I'm going to hold myself accountable because this is going to be a 2025, looking in the camera, New Year's resolution. I need to take advantage of it more. Yeah. Like there's so many places around the UK that I want to go and see. Like I can just take my laptop and the dog I can just go away for a couple of days and still work and still go and see places, even abroad. I can go abroad and do it. It's absolutely amazing. I can just
honestly,
pick and choose my hours. I know what I have to get done. I know what's important. I know what my priorities are, but I can pick and choose my schedule.
Yeah, makes me emotional because I cannot stand the idea of being forced to work somewhere I don't want to be under someone's rule. So much so I couldn't do it if I tried. I'd honestly, it'd be awful. And so having that, I'm so grateful for, like, the ability to move around and scratch the itch of that monkey brain is just like, oh my God, that's just really does it for me. Like, it's a cool thing. And you're right, like, isn't it weird that you have the freedom to do so and then don't capitalise on it as much sometimes as you should? And it's the same thing, I can go absolutely anywhere with my laptop. I'm just like...
But it's the choice that you've
Why
got
not?
in. Like, I could do it if I want. Like,
Yes.
how many people
That
are
is
stuck in a 9 to 5 and they go,
Nail on the head.
if only.
Nail on the head.
Go,
The option to do
well,
it
at least
is
I can
freedom
do
in
it,
itself.
you know what I mean?
I am getting better at it. I really, really am. So I have got a few trips planned and things like that. But like even like coming down here today, it's like, boss, I can get on the train, get my laptop out, do some work. When I got off the train, straight to a coffee shop, do some work on my laptop. Brilliant. I'm here now recording this. I've got a really exciting afternoon and evening with some really, really, really amazing friends. Tomorrow, do the same thing, a couple of hours work, find a boss coffee shop, or go take myself a lunch or something. And then I can enjoy the rest of my day.
Yeah,
and it's only when I've become busier that I've started taking more advantage of like, right, I know I've got this, and this to do, but I want to go to London. So if I get the train early, I can do this, then I can work here. And that's just how my brain like functions now. Like I can't imagine a life not doing that anymore.
Same.
I actually can't remember who said this, but someone said, like, even when you have the choice, you can choose where to work and you can always put yourself in the environment you choose. So like a lot of people pick like the nicest hotel in London and they'll go and sit in there because they don't know who's going to be listening to them or who they might meet.
Oh, it's such a thing I don't capitalise on.
Like you could literally go and sit in any environment.
Yeah.
Like if you go to Mayfair, you're going to bump into someone who's richer than you or more established than you.
Yeah.
That is, and I can't believe I don't capitalise on that enough because that is
We just
totally
go to
true.
Starbucks
Your
and
environment,
chat.
like your environment trumps willpower. Willpower, you have a certain amount of resource, and sure you can fight a good fight, but your environment trumps willpower. And so like, if you put yourself in an environment, it just rubs off on you. The e-commerce game I'm in, my friends are in e-commerce, and it just literally just changed the trajectory. Or it didn't. It was the same trajectory. It just went. It just flew. Like that's so. I think we should go to Mayfair. Just go to Mayfair and just meet some millionaire cougars. Didn't say that. Didn't say that.
So I just want to move on now to
no more cougars.
Yeah. It's not all been plain sailing, right?
Yes, great. That's a great one. Good question earlier. And this one's a good layup as well. Yeah, not been plain sailing.
No,
So
not at all.
we talk a lot about mental health and physical preparation, if you like. But it's not always that straightforward. And you had a lot of challenges mentally yourself, physically yourself, that you had to overcome.
Yes.
Just dive into that a little bit for us.
So I'll start with the physical. I've got something called endometriosis, and it's really weird because my best friend Anna, who I work with and work for, she had the same thing. She was actually the one who identified it in me because I was really struggling, and I ended up being really, really poorly. I've had 2 operations, potential for another operation coming up in the next 4 to 6 months. It affects so many women, and you know, if I'm on this podcast and I get an opportunity to say like how important it is and how much women struggle with it because it's life-changing. It's a horrible thing to go through. I am very fortunate and very lucky that I have private healthcare that was straight in, sorted it out. But it's not like curable. It's not like fully curable. You just have to maintain it like through operations. The past 6 to 8 months, I've actually had to go into the hospital once a month to get an injection to try and keep it under control, which is a pain in itself because then you have all the side effects from that. Like my weight's been fluctuating. I've gone from like chronic fatigue to not being able to train and then being really poorly. And it's been very up and down. I'm in a good place with it now, but I'm on the edge of like potential operation coming up. But I've got an amazing consultant in Liverpool that helps me out with it. But that was life changing because for women as well. I'm one of the fortunate ones where endometriosis isn't on my ovaries. So when it comes to getting pregnant and stuff, like I'm one of the luckier ones. You know, a lot of women can't get pregnant because of endometriosis, and that is a really, really big thing for women. But it's life changing. You have something called PMDD, which is basically like really, really negative mental health. I got it really, really bad the beginning of this year. That's what kind of triggered kind of a downward spiral for me. But then on top of that, different life factors. I was in a relationship that I wasn't particularly happy in. I didn't like myself. I just wasn't happy. I just wasn't where I wanted to be in life. And I just spiraled, and I ended up really, really, really depressed. And a lot of people who are going to be watching this who know what I'm like now, I'm such a smiley, happy, bubbly person. They'll be like, oh my days, I can't imagine Jess ever being sad or depressed, because that is just not the vibe I give off. But yeah, I was in a very, 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 very dark place for a good few months, which then kind of ties back into the Yes month in June. And then obviously Barry's coming at such an important time. But the way I felt, I think it started in it was over Christmas, and then when January hit, it just got much, much worse. And then when I split with my ex, I was at rock bottom. I don't think I've ever felt so low in my entire life. I wasn't thinking properly. I didn't want to get out of bed. Work was suffering. I wasn't training. My dad, who I've spoke about quite a lot on the podcast already, he's my rock. He's my best friend. So is my mum. My dad's very much like an alpha character. Sorts out any problem. No problem is too big for that man. He sorts it out like that. Like loves his family, wants to protect them, sorts out any problem. It was the first time in his life, and he sat down opposite me when I was on the bones of my arse, and he was in bits, just saying that he can't. This is the first time in his life he can't help. He doesn't know what to do.
Oh mate, I bet that's crushing as well.
It was awful. This was the turning point for me.
Well, I was just about to ask about that. So that's because, especially when you're depressed, your level of self-care goes down.
Massively.
Because your level of self-respect to self-esteem goes down, and you'll look after things you care about. And so, I mean, you're just about to put onto it, but what was it? You said this was the turning point for you, was it?
Yeah, well, it was. My dad, I was constantly ringing my dad every day. My best friend Anna, she lives in Dubai, which was really hard for me, like having your best friend live across the world. She got loads of teary phone calls. My best friend Mia in Liverpool helped me through it. Like, I had so many good friends, and that's something that I want to talk about that massively helped me through. But I had the most amazing friends. I had the most amazing family. I'm the luckiest girl in the world. I've got a great life, the most amazing life. And I felt like the loneliest person in the world. And the turning point for me was I was at my mum and dad's. My mum, Liverpool playing, I think it was a Sunday. And my mum and my auntie, Linda, were watching the match. And
you're a big Liverpool fan, right?
I'm a big Everton fan. My dad's a Blue, but my dad will always watch the match with me mum and my auntie and that. And I was just at rock bottom, wasn't sleeping, wasn't training, just couldn't breathe. It's so hard to put into words how I felt. Like everything was grey, everything was black and white. It was just, and I just went into the living room and I just collapsed on the floor. Try not to get upset. I just collapsed on the floor, and my mum and my auntie, they had to pick me up, and my dad was like shaking. And I remember leaving the house, and I actually had thoughts of, I don't know if I can do this anymore. And it was really, really hard. It was a really bad time, and I just wasn't myself. But it's weird, how things work. So I remember crying on the way home, and I had some really, 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 really dark thoughts. And I was crying, I was screaming in the car. I shouldn't really been in the car. I had to get out of my mum and dad's house. And I was just thinking, right, tonight, I just can't carry on living like this. I don't know what to do. I was in therapy, and Mia rang me when I was crying, and I just let it ring, and I let it ring. And I eventually answered the phone, sorted myself out, and then she started telling me some ridiculous story. I can't even remember what it was. Mia just rings me and will tell me the most random, funniest thing that would have happened to her an hour ago. And I just started laughing, and then it kind of hit me, and I just went white, and I was like, oh my God, this is rock bottom. And that was the turning point for me. I was like, I'm not living like this anymore. I've got to change. Kept at therapy, turned my life around, forced myself to eat properly. I'd lost weight. I'd lost quite a bit of weight. Started going back into the gym, went to Barry's. Started going out with friends a little bit more, started sorting work out, started like showing my face at different places, making sure I was getting out of the house, spent more time with family, changed the way I was thinking. And then June came around and I had my Yes month. I had a holiday to Portugal just before that, and that's when I started to really start feeling better. And Anna came with me and spent the holiday with me. And then when I got back, I was just like, I am never, ever, ever going to let myself get to that point again. Because I look back now and think that if I was any worse, or if I'd have gone down that very, very dark path, how many people I would have let down and missed and, you know, left them heartbroken, or potentially left them feeling the way that I was feeling at the time.
Yeah.
And I cared way too much about what people thought about me, way too much. And after I split up with my ex, that was what was spiraling me a lot. Like the thought of people hating me, because it was my decision to split up with my ex, and I just couldn't bear it. And the things that were getting said about me, it was just making me 10 times worse.
And it's hard not to be that way, especially because splitting up with someone is a brave decision to make. And the older I've got, the more I realise that, like, because you think in black and white when you're younger, oh, it's terrible, it's this. And then sometimes people just aren't right for you. Like you touched on earlier, like, great guy. It's not even, well, one of the ex-boyfriends was a great guy. It just wasn't a good fit. And so sometimes that's the right decision, but it's a tough decision because it can come with social stuff like that. But then yours spiraled a bit further out than it should have been, because it's tough enough as it is, but then scorned people, hurt people. And then obviously he's saying all sorts of stuff that they'll paint you in a bad light. And then obviously if you're worried about what people are thinking as it is, which a lot of us do, it's quite hard not to do that, especially
Got a really good
even when you're younger, then that's going to really fire at you, for sure. I mean, like, I'd challenge anybody to be able to put up with that, really.
It's people in their 20s. My friend Dan, he said this a lot. When you're in your 20s, you care about what people think about you. When you're in your 30s, you start not to give a shit about what people think about you. And then when you're in your 40s, you realise no one was thinking about you. So, like, there's so much truth in it.
Yeah, there is so much truth, but I mean, there is still a lot of social risk and capital to be lost when stuff like that does happen. So like, there is a real downside to that. And so, like, you're going to be worried. So, for example, if someone says something about you, whether it's true or not, if it's not true, you know, it's then your word against another person. And if they've got relationships similar to yours, then, like, that's actually quite dangerous territory.
Still defamation.
So not think it, like, I totally agree with you, like, don't give a shit about what someone thinks if you're going to put content out or you're going to do your thing or you just want to be yourself. But those things can have real dangers when someone is scorned and is out to, you know, not that they do it intentionally, but they want to hurt people because they're hurt. And then what happens is you've got similar friendship groups, and then, you know, like I said, it's your words against them, and then that does lead to certain outcomes. And I think if you care less about what people think, that's fine. But, like, you know what some people are like. I'm not saying your fella was like this, but, you know, some people just, like, under the radar, saying these little things like that, building relationships, and because at the end of the day we're glorified chimps. We were obviously very enlightened, but we're glorified chimps, which means we do, like, there's gossip and scheme, and people do tend to do that, especially if you're hurt. And so that can quickly spiral out of control. I was in a job once where I was doing a car salesman kind of thing, a marketing company I was in, and I sat down with a lady, and I was new to the company, and she just spent the next hour just rinsing my company about how they made promises and how they didn't keep to them. I was just like, what do I do?
Where to look?
Yeah. And so I came back and I was like, they were said, how was the meeting? I was like, oh, it was awful. She just rinsed us for ages on what we didn't do. And so they called her out on it and told her off and said, we're supposed to be a united front together. So this is the lady, I should have given context, the lady I was sitting with to pitch to the client. And she found out and that I dobbed her in and literally ripped my career out from the inside. So she went to every dealership around the UK that I was affiliated with, just dropping, like, gossip and stuff of how shit I was, how I couldn't do my job, and how I just strung her up and stuff like that. And then I would go to these dealerships and these guys would just be like nasty to me, or just be really nonchalant or off.
Yeah.
And I didn't understand why. And then 6 months later, I got fired. And for a number of different things, I wasn't as organised as I am now. But mainly the reason, because she'd literally sabotaged the whole of that. And I didn't know until later when she just kicked off in front of a client. I was like, what? Where did that come from? And it turned out, she'd been around every dealership just planting that seed. So there is social risk to that, because it can. I mean, luckily enough, I got fired from that place because it was a piece of shit. What a crap company to work for. But
Say that now.
Yeah.
You weren't not at the time. He's like,
I need this job. So it does carry that. So you're naturally going to be... that's going to cause you a lot of havoc, especially when you've made tough decisions like that and you're not in a great place anyway.
Yeah.
So
it was hard.
it can be hard to come back from, and like even experts in psychology as well, where you know how the brain works.
that's what I was just going
You
to say.
know
We're the
how
worst
to overcome
ones
it.
for
Yeah.
it, I'm telling you now,
Because there's some
honestly.
irony in it. Like the fact that you know exactly what you're talking about, and you know how to recognize it. All of those things, you still hit rock bottom.
Oh,
but
honestly, I'm the worst person for it. I always say to all my friends, I give the best advice ever.
Yeah.
When it comes to myself, dreadful. My friends take the piss out of me for it. They're like, you're a psychologist, love.
Yeah.
Sort your head out. I'm like, I'm trying.
On the psychological thing, understanding psychology to such an extent allows me tools to be able to brainwash and trick myself into things in a good way that leads me to better places. So there is something to be said for that. I'm like a consumer psychology kind of guy, so I know what moves people. So I have found some tools, but just because you know psychology, do you mean being able to practice that on yourself is like two very different things.
But as a secondary element to that, I think you went back to basics and you had like some foundations in your family and your friends. You said when you got in the car and went on a drive that you shouldn't have gone on, you got a call from a friend who brought you all the way back. So you had the foundations that brought you back to, okay, I've got to sort this shit out. So how important is it that you've actually got those foundations that actually, because if someone doesn't have anybody, you never know where that might have gone.
Yeah. I would not be the person sat here today if it wasn't for my friends and my family getting me through that time. Like, it was the hardest decision I ever had to make, ending a relationship that I was really happy in at the beginning, and it was everything to me. And then for obviously my mental health to get so bad and then having to make that decision, I don't regret making the decision. This is the one thing, if I can get across to people, you've got to be selfish if you want to progress. And selfishness has such a taboo thing attached to it, and you're going to lose friends, you're going to make enemies, people are going to talk shit about you. Choosing yourself, you're going to hurt people, you're going to upset people by choosing yourself. But oh my God, you've got to do it. I would not be sat here today the person I am, doing what I'm doing, living my life, the happiest I've ever been in my life, if I hadn't have made those selfish decisions. Yeah,
you have to, because you've only got a certain amount of resource. And the thing is, when your cup is full, that cup will overflow. When your cup is not full, then you have to be selfish. You've got a certain amount of resources to dedicate. And if you're not in a good place, how can you dish that energy to someone else when you have to top up your own energy? So I'm saying, like, be generous with your energy if you have it. Do you know what I mean? If you have it, if you don't have the energy, you have to go back inwards and be like, because I'm the most fucking important, sorry, camera swearing again, I'm the most fucking important guy in my life, because otherwise I'm dead. Do you know what I mean? And so I can't benefit anybody around me. I can't navigate the world and make the world a better place if I don't take care of myself. And some people call that selfishness, and I'm just like, screw off, I don't care. Like you are the most important thing when you're at a low, because your internal world for you is everything. Like, you are your reality, and if you don't look after that first, how can you possibly be better for other people? You're just asking so much. Some bit, like, you see those people that just rinse themselves looking after others, and then they've got nothing left for themselves. They're miserable. They're unhappy. I just don't agree with that.
That's that famous saying, isn't it? If you try and keep everyone happy, no one's going to be happy, including yourself, especially yourself.
Yeah,
for sure.
Definitely truth in that, for sure. Round two.
That's our entry. That should be like the start of our...
And welcome back to the...
This is Unchained, Entrepreneur. Radio back.
I love that. It's a proper little riff, that, isn't it?
That's the...
I don't think I'd have that, but... Right.
Cool. So really, like, what's next for you then? Because you've obviously got your psychology, you've got Barry's, you've got like online fitness coaching, like you have a passion for all of them. So like, how are you going to do all that? And what's your passion now?
Do you know what? It's so, when I think about it now, it makes me smile because none of the work I do feels like work. I absolutely love it. And I think everything that I've been through this year has just made me so grateful for what I do for work. Like online coaching, I'll talk about online coaching and Barry's. Like online coaching changed my life like a couple of years ago. It's my best friend, Anna. She's one of the most inspirational people I've ever met in my entire life. She built her business from nothing during COVID on her own. Like, she's absolutely smashed it. She is incredible. She's definitely a businesswoman. She is just amazing. So I'm very obviously lucky and fortunate that she was my best friend, and she offered me the position. She just said, right, come and work for me.
Nice.
I've always been into my fitness and weightlifting. I had the background knowledge, went and done a PT qualification, which was so much fun. And then just started up. And then over time, I was just building up my clients, getting more experience, getting more confident, obviously, as we spoke about, which is really important. Whereas now, like, I'm so confident with what I do. I'm learning more and more every day. Like, I'm such a glass half full mentality girl, which means there's always more room for improvement and learning more and things like that. I'm learning so much more about like running coaching and running performance, because Anna is a high performance running coach, which is really, really cool. Like Train with Anna is going in that direction, which is amazing. We work with the most incredible women from all walks of life, all ages. They're just absolutely incredible. We've had ladies all across the world as well, which is amazing. And I am so grateful and blessed and honoured and lucky and fortunate that I get to work with these women, because they are inspirational. Like, I might be their coach, but they inspire me with all these different things. Like I mentioned, I helped an incredible lady with her IVF. I've helped people achieve their dreams of running marathons, half marathons, their weight loss for their weddings. We've had so many gorgeous brides. The ladies that we work with at the minute are absolutely incredible. So what's next for online coaching is just continue doing exactly what I'm doing and keep meeting these incredible women and hopefully inspire them as they inspire me, and keep working really closely with Anna. And I think it's quite unheard of, like, best friends working together, because a lot of the time it doesn't work. But the way me and Anna do it, it works so well. Like, when we're in work mode, we're in work mode. We've got work phones and we've got personal phones. Like, we'll be calling each other banter to burn on our personal phone, sending each other funny pictures and memes, disgusting selfies of each other. And then when it's on the work phone, it's like a little bit more professional. We still have banter and stuff, but a bit more professional. But we just manage it so well. And no matter what happens at work, we are best friends. That will not affect how we're best friends. So that works really well. So I just want to help growing the business, try and meet loads more women, a few more countries across the world would be nice. We've had people from everywhere: New Zealand, Australia, Canada, America. We've got a gorgeous client in Denmark, Spain, Portugal, like so many amazing places. Go global. Nice. It's nice.
That's cool. I mean, so online coaching, I think, is a great business model. So like, I know we talked about helping ladies out and stuff, and I think that's really cool. I think you've got a lot of value to give. I also think it's a very scalable business model. It's like, because what happens when you PT is your PT, unless you're going to franchise or bring other people on board, you've only got 24 hours in a day. Whereas online coaching is so scalable. Like, I know some friends, we're going to have Chloe on the show soon, who has done a similar thing where she's gone into online coaching, and it's so profitable. It's such a great business model. Some people are starting to say, it's starting to get into a bit of a saturated place, but I say niche your audience. Like, just go and find a market you can serve that's uniquely about you or your own authenticity, or segment a market out. But it's such a great business model.
Yeah.
And if you have results, just to caveat that, if you have results, you'll never be in an oversaturated market. Yeah,
to a certain extent. I mean, there is market capitalization and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, if you're the best, do you know what I mean? Like, you're the best, for sure. The reason I mention that as well, because I think for viewers, I think if they get their heads down, I think marketing's important, and obviously studying fitness and getting into it and helping people out. So I think it's a good model. So what would your advice be to someone that wants to get into that field?
Oh, what would my advice be? I think a lot of it does come down to confidence. If you are confident in your knowledge to help someone, you're going to be flying. But make sure that you've got a good setup. Don't overstretch yourself or overwhelm yourself too much too soon. Start with a handful of clients, get some boss results. Then from there, build upon that, and then just keep building bit by bit. If you just put the feelers out and get, like, say, 10 clients in, and you're like, oh shit, I don't know what I'm doing. You're not going to get good results, and that you're going to, like, it's almost like chopping your feet off before you even started walking. Do you know what I mean? Like, focus on, like, almost like we spoke about before, where you work for free. I'm not obviously saying don't work for free, but start with what you know, and build upon that. Try not to, don't want to say overstretch, but
Yeah,
Just on that, because you're a big like believer in you can learn anything on YouTube, which is true. Everything you need to know is on
Case in
YouTube,
point.
love YouTube.
but it's so spread out. It could take you a long time. Make some lessons, get some results. Mentorship. Would you say like working with Anna, she was kind of a mentor?
100%, yeah.
Because having a mentorship just condenses all of that down into like
Yeah.
What a
you're
cheat
funneled
code.
into
Literally.
like results.
She's like my own personal like online coach encyclopedia. It's great.
Yeah.
She's taught me everything I know.
Yeah, so
Everything.
yeah, you're totally right. Sometimes it's the right information. So YouTube is wonderful.
Full of information. It's
But
just so spread
you
out.
have loads
Knowledge
of
is
people.
power.
Yeah, and what happens is with YouTube, you've got to dig into the detail of it because what happens is everybody knows entry level. And so we find this in the e-commerce game is when you go and look up how to make your first 10 grand a month or whatever it is, you'll find a load of little chirpsy little like twats on social media that have made one store where they made the like 50k revenue, not profit, probably broke even, if that. And then they'll start teaching people because everyone knows the basics, how to put up a website and stuff like that. And so the thing I say about YouTube is it's a lot of chaff. And sometimes you've got to know what to look for. And sometimes that's a lot of study and piecing it together. But I think mentorship is a cheat code. It's an absolute cheat code. Someone's got access to the information that you need so that they've already separated the chaff from the wheat. And so and they can, I totally believe in mentorship. I totally believe in networking with the right people. It's just a great thing to do. Like you'll just shortcut. It really is a cheat code.
Massively.
I just wonder how people can find that. So we were talking about this, weren't we? I think to find people that want to spend time with you, let's say mentors. I mean, obviously you can pay, but I think you have to grow a network and be a valuable human being as well. So you have to bring something to the table for, let's say if it's a mentor that wasn't going to be paying cash for, then you have to have something to bring to that person. Where they're like, oh my God, I want to invest that time with you. So I think it's chicken and egg, and it's skills acquisition.
But
skills
mentorship
acquisition
is always going to come at a cost. It's either going to come at a cost of price,
Yes.
which is unlimited. You can always make more money, or it's going to come at a cost of time, which isn't unlimited. You're going to run out. So fast track your way by investing in yourself and pay for a
100%.
mentor.
100%.
Yeah, for sure. The costs are a factor for people at the beginning, but I think it's probably one of the best investments you can make.
Yeah.
For sure.
Definitely.
And online businesses are very open to payment structures and plans and do it
massively.
monthly.
Yeah.
You're happy
True.
to buy an iPhone on a pay monthly. You're happy to buy
Good way of putting it.
any, like a car, for example, on pay monthly.
Yeah. You
But
can
you
get
won't buy a
Rolexes on
mentorship.
finance.
You won't buy a mentorship and pay monthly.
I love it. I love that idea. I mean,
Everything's financeable.
yeah, I love that idea. I mean, I know we're living in finance hell and stuff, but like, if you're going to buy a consumer product on a monthly, then why would you not invest in
Exactly.
your mentoring on the monthly? Like,
Yeah.
that's such a
100%.
good point.
Imagine how confident you'd be if you are going into something and you're like, don't know where to begin. What do I do? Oh, I don't know anything. Like, you'll feel dead anxious because anxiety is the fear of not being in control.
Yeah.
You just feel all over the place. Like, one way to stop that, to be in control, is to give yourself the information. Best way to do that is get a mentor, learn about it, educate yourself, and you're unstoppable when you're
Yeah, for sure. And it's time as well, like you said.
Yeah.
Like well, it's not just that you don't get time back, but the time horizon could be massive. Like you could spend 10 years learning how to online coach and then become the best at it, or you could do it in 3.
Yeah.
Not even.
And how much is your time worth? Are you willing to, like, it might cost you $4,000 up front, but if you waited a year and
Yeah. And there's other options
How
as
much
well.
is that worth?
So until I got mentoring in the e-commerce business, I was earning about 5k a month profit, and I was a solopreneur. So I was like, sick. That's me, Mr. Moneybags. It was the biggest amount of money I'd ever earned in my life. But then I was hitting maybe like 20k months and couldn't break it at all. Like 50 orders a day or something. I can't remember exactly what it was. Don't count me on this maths. But yeah, I couldn't break it. And then I decided to give an equity split out because I didn't have loads of funds to invest. He wanted like 4k a month or something like that. So I said, why don't you take a part of the business, like 25%? And we did our first 400k month that month. Yeah,
It's a
I mean,
chunk,
it is a
isn't
cheat.
it?
It was Black Friday, but like he would have at least taken that to 200k,
Yeah.
guaranteed. And I didn't have that knowledge, and I could have spent the next 3 years learning. And yeah, I had to give a percentage away, but you know, 75% of something is better than 100% of nothing. Or like, and so I totally believe in it because he just literally just came in and just did things that I just wasn't aware of, or picked holes in stuff that I should have been doing and wasn't, and said, you need to do that. And that was it. just blew up after that. And I was like, mentoring. Absolutely. Mentoring is it.
Absolutely.
So back to your fitness then. How does your online coaching integrate with Barry's?
I wouldn't say it integrates like completely, obviously, online coaching, but I think without the online coaching, I don't think I would have been at Barry's, because online coaching gave me my identity of, I work in the fitness world. I am, I deserve to be here. I belong here. And it gave me confidence, and it inspired me to just keep on working at my fitness. Like, I was like, all right, I'm a coach now. I need to make sure that, I keep true to myself with my fitness and things like that.
Yeah.
And then that led to obviously me being invited to the
Yeah.
Barry's night. Like, I'm a massive believer in everything happens for a reason.
What was that? So you were working out during a Barry session and then got invited by a friend, or like how did that come about?
So social media, I started like posting a little bit more about online coaching, my psychology, my own training, what I've been up to, my own fitness, my own health, things like that. And that's where they invited me, because I kind of went to Barry's, didn't go all the time, but I went to Barry's probably like maybe once a fortnight, things like that. And then they messaged me on Instagram and invited me, like, we're doing this fitness industry night for fitness professionals in Liverpool. So that fitness professional title I wouldn't have had without the online coaching. So the online coaching really helped me get to Barry's. So as we spoke about, the night was amazing. But everything happens for a reason, because that came at the most perfect time for me. Like, when I was trying to get myself back on my feet, I had the yes month and things like that. And then Barry's came along and went down for the 2 weeks of intense training. I will say it's very intense. Had many a tear in the toilet during training.
We've all been there.
But to be fair, that's probably the downside of online remote working, is the loneliness of online working.
That's why you have to find
So-
friends in the space, because otherwise.
So the fact that
it's
you've
very
now
lonely.
got like
Yeah.
Barry's as like an
You don't realise how
escape,
much you
right?
needed it.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, I love working with people. I'm such a people person.
Biggest thing I miss about
And
football.
your lifestyle's different, so not everybody has the same lifestyle of freedom, and then you can't relate to people because you're doing different things. It's much better to have people in that space or friends in that space, for sure.
Yeah, definitely. But
Just can I touch on what you're posting about? Like you said, you're posting, and so social media and stuff like that. For the audience's benefit, I've found it's really powerful to get good at stuff and then post. A lot of people don't want to because they feel like it's I don't know, showing off or something, and then some people do. They're just like, oh, you're arrogant, and I'm just like, people see your work.
yeah.
So I think that social thing, just want to touch on, is like, if you want to get good at stuff, start sharing stuff social, because that's one of the quickest ways where people, like, I picked up business doing that.
Yeah.
So that's super important for people to do. If you get good at stuff, share it, and it's not arrogant. Like, I don't care what anybody says. It's self-promotion at the end of the day. So I think that's super important before we carry on the. Like I said, I just want to make sure people are getting value from it in terms of
massively.
actual stuff. And so what happened after that then? So you, bloody hell, this is what I do, yeah? Just lose trains of thought because I'm trying to pick up on stuff. So so it was social, and then you got noticed and got invited to Barry's through that kind of way.
Yeah.
And then
Went down to London, stayed in Camden for 2 weeks, did intense training by the amazing Anya, who is just one of the most amazing people I've ever met. And I will say it till my face turns blue, like, Barry's has changed my life. It came to me at the perfect time, and I was born to do Barry's. Like, I absolutely love it, and it's a whole new world of like clients that I've met now, and I just feel like it's such a huge part of my identity, and I'll forever be grateful for everyone who's involved in the journey from the get-go, because it has changed my life in the best possible way, especially looking back at how broken I was as a person, to then go through that 2 weeks of intense training, put a microphone on, stand in front of a class and help people to have the best workout of the day, and
It's amazing.
giving them that joy every day, and I absolutely love it. I
love it when your work is play. That's such a cool thing.
Yeah.
And it's like you were built for it. Do you know what I mean? It's like you have to learn disciplines and learn skills and stuff to sharpen up in certain areas. Maybe we're weak at, but it's nice when you fall into something. You're just like, oh my god, this is me. It's literally what I was made to do.
Literally. And do you know what's really nice as well? Like, especially the past few months, the amount of comments I've had from people saying to me, Jess, you're glowing. You're absolutely glowing. And it's like, I feel like my life in the past, since January, has literally been the Wizard of Oz story. Like, my life was black and white. I've stepped over the rainbow. That is that is Train with Anna and Barry's, and now I see the world in bright colours.
Yeah, I love
and
that.
I love it.
And I've not met you before, but obviously I can see on your face there's a lot of good, very bright energy coming out of you, which is really cool. You look like you're in that crackhead energy. Yeah,
I think that goes back to social media though, just to kind of wrap that point up. Like, Instagram is just a highlight reel. So when people think they know you, all they're doing is swiping and seeing all of the good things about.
100%, yeah.
So how bad do you think social media is for creating illusions, but also people stereotyping and going, I'm not where I want to be, but this person's amazing, and all of that kind of stuff?
It's very, very easy to fool people on Instagram. Like, I hold my hands up as well. Like, when I was going through a bad time, no one would have known I was going through a bad time. I was still posting stories of like my coffee and Starbucks and my dog and life. Do you know what I mean? Even though I was on the bones of my arse, and I was just like, I just want to.
Tears behind the camera.
Literally. Like, every day I was thinking, I just cannot wait to go to sleep, so I can just switch off.
Yeah.
That's all I wanted to do, was just sleep, so I didn't have my brain. No one would have known that. But I did force myself to do a post. I think I did a few posts in the end about mental health and what I've been through in my own mental health. And I remember doing it, and I remember typing it and crying my eyes out. And Mia was next to me when I was typing it. And I was just like, I just want to be honest with people that, like, this has just been the worst time of my entire life. And I just can't even imagine, like, you know, and almost like an olive branch to people. Like, if you are going through this, please speak to me. Like, please message me. And I did have a few messages from people and just saying, wow, like, never would have known you would have been feeling like that. Like, I've been feeling a bit down and things like that, and connecting with people through that. And that is the power of social media as well. Like, yes, it's an illusion, and a lot of people will use it to only highlight the good times in their life. We all do it, we're all guilty of it. But it also has an incredible power to reach out to people that might need it, and again, might not be in a position or ready or confident enough to actually reach for the help from a therapist or a psychiatrist or a psychologist, that might just want a friendly word from someone that they might not really know.
Totally agree. So a lot of people bash social media, and so, like, I think it exacerbates human tendencies. So, like, for example, everybody's showing the best version of themselves. Yeah, we're all doing it right now. Like, it's just what you do. Like, from a evolutionary standpoint or whatever it is, like, I'm going to present myself as a certain kind of person. No one knows who your private self really is. We all put on masks in certain ways, or the people that we want to be or perceive to be. And there's benefits in terms of sexual selection, which we're not going to go into because I'll waffle for ages. But then social media makes that even worse, because what you can do is you can put up more of a filter in front of it. But it also, like you said, like, there's really great sides to social media in terms of, like, democratizes things more. So in the 50s, where you were just, you know, heard what was on the media and then you just shut up and listened to it and was like, oh, well, that's truth. Now people are calling out, and especially with, like, the advent of X, Elon Musk's platform. Now, too much freedom of speech can go the other way, but at least people are now being able to voice their opinions, and then they're calling people out. Like, I don't know about where you sit politically, but the whole Kamala Harris thing, like, that got, like, people were just calling all of this propaganda out, and it was just so interesting to see. So there are powerful parts of social media where it does give people the power to have a voice. And like you said, like, you can use it for good in terms of, like, well, I'll share my story and use that as an empowering thing so people can connect to that as well. And I think that's super powerful. I think that's super powerful. I think social media is good and bad. Like, everything is good and bad.
Absolutely.
Elon Musk is just against the grain though, because, like, especially today,
I swear
because
to think he's an alien. He's not of this planet, is he?
But in such a snowflake generation we're in now, the fact that he's just completely let X do its thing, and anyone can say anything to anyone,
no fucks given,
and everyone's offended by everything, I just think it's funny.
Well, I think it was needed. So, like, there is a line to walk in the middle, because if you give people too much freedom of speech, so you open up to corruption and well, I say corruption, it's the same the other side. If there's too much order and someone is controlling the narrative, then you're going to follow someone else's truth. But if you go too far the other way with freedom of speech, then it's just going to get super chaotic, and then people are going to just not respect people. And I think there's something in the middle. You have to police a certain amount, otherwise things get out of hand. But what he did was just like, there's a lid on this, and we're just being told to toe the line. You know what it's like. Go get a 9 to 5, get married, have kids, go to university and spend a boatload of money on something that you may not use later on in life. And then we get wages, and then we get told this is the way you live your life, and you spend a bit of money and you try and save for a time where your golden years are when you're going to be a millionaire, all this kind of thing. And so he he needed to blow the lid off a little bit, because it's kind of like there's this narrative that was running through, which is I thought was absolute bollocks. But and someone needs to blow the lid off. But now I think we need to pull that back in a little bit.
Close the lid a little bit.
Yeah, but yeah, it was. That's the power of social media. That is the power of social media. So yeah, I mean, I'm a big fan of it. Obviously, it makes me a lot of money. You could do plenty of cool things with it. So I think, with regards to, I also want to give people more value in terms of, again, next steps, like you've kindly helped us in terms of getting into the industry and stuff. I want to touch more upon general life pieces of advice. I think that you've learnt the hard way, so other people might not have to, or that people can relate to, and then potentially help climb out, or just become the best version of themselves. Yeah. So what advice could you give people that are aspiring entrepreneurs that potentially have the same thing as you? You know, they want to try and find something they love, they want to try and get a bit more freedom, or even climb out of holes that they might be in.
So in terms of like the more kind of businessy side of things, have a yes month. Have a yes month. It helps, honestly. I would not be here today without my yes month. But no, in all seriousness, say yes to opportunities, because you would rather take hold of an opportunity and it not work out rather than not take the opportunity at all. At least you've given yourself the chance to grow, to learn within that opportunity. It might not work out. Yeah. It might, you never know. But you've tried. And I think that is such a powerful word, to try in life, with whatever it is, whether it's business, life, sport, mental health. You've got to try and never give up. That's the most important thing. I was very close to giving up, very close. And I'm so glad I didn't. And again, friends, family, they helped me not to give up. I think when it comes to mental health, God, there's so many things I could say. Especially after this year, I think the most important thing is that you've got to be selfish. There's only one person at the end of the day that's going to stare back at you in the mirror, and that person is yourself. And they are the only person who's going to pick you up from the bones of your arse, change your life, change your thoughts. No one else is going to do that for you. You've got to be selfish. And as I said before, not everyone's going to like it. People are going to fall out with you. People won't be in your life anymore. People will say mean things about you. You've got to lose your old life if you want to get a new life. And it's so hard. It's so hard. Like, it still fills me with fear a little bit that I had to make that decision. And it was the hardest decision ever to change my life this year. Both decisions, obviously, ended in a relationship and picking myself up from rock bottom. And if I wasn't selfish, I wouldn't have done either of those things. And I would not be sat here being the person I am today, achieved of what I've achieved, feeling how I feel, looking how I look. Like, I've smashed out 2 high rocks in the past couple of months. I never in a million years would have ever done that if I hadn't have made that first step of being selfish. It is not the worst thing in the world, because you can be selfish focusing on yourself. And I think, as a side note to that, in the back of my mind, because I've always been a people pleaser, I've always been like, I've got to make everyone else happy, I've got to make sure everyone else is okay. Constantly worried about what other people thought, never feeling good.
And they tie together,
enough.
by the way, worrying what people think and being a people pleaser. I was like in my
20s. Massively. And I think in the back of my head, I had to be selfish to look after myself, to still have that part of me, which is a good part. It makes me a good soul to care about others, to want to help others. And I wouldn't have been able to continue to hold that identity if I had let myself go.
Yeah, treat yourself as if you're your own best friend. That you get a chance to help out. Absolutely. Because you've got loads of friends that you help out. I think that's you've got to be your own best friend. For sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's cool. It's lovely on mental health. I like that. You do have to sometimes focus inwards to be the best person of yourself outwards.
Can't pour from an empty cup.
Can't pour from an empty cup.
No one else is going to fill that cup for you.
No, it's a solid bit of advice. Cool. Yeah, I think that's it. Any other words of wisdom?
Move your body. Best thing to do. Even if it's steps, honestly, like, and it's cliche, but going for a walk is so important. Having that as a non-negotiable. You might hate the gym, you might hate running, you might hate anything that involves your heart rate going up ever so slightly, but getting that one walk a day can change your life. It really can. So move your body in any possible way. Never give up. Be selfish. Be kind.
Nice.
Okay. Thank you for coming.
Yeah,
it's been great.
I was going to do one last bit of advice on like success. I'm going to do a wanky school to greatness thing. Is like, what is success to you? What would you define as being successful?
Oh wow, God, what a question! What is success to me? Probably looking in the mirror and being proud of myself. I think that's probably what success means to me, because that pride will come from different achievements. It doesn't have to be work. It could be very personal things. But if I can look at myself in the mirror at the end of the day and be like, bitch done good.
Yeah.
That
nice.
is, yeah, to be proud of myself and to make my mum and dad proud. That's success to me.
Yeah, that's wonderful. I love that.
Nice.
Love that. Yeah, I mean, it's been a pleasure having you on.
Thank
I love
you.
your story. You've dropped some really cool value nuggets for people out there as well. It's great to hear your journey, a bit emotional as well, and hopefully that connects to people, because we have all had those elements of ourselves that are dark, or bad relationships and stuff. So appreciate you coming on. Appreciate
Thanks
you as
for
usual.
having me.
Great
I
questions
really,
from
really
your
enjoyed
side.
it.
So yeah, cool.
you.
Thanks for coming.
That's a wrap.
Bye.
It's a wrap.